Hey there, true crime friends. You are never going to believe what happened. So, remember the other day when I was talking about that Amish dude who accidentally, unfortunately unalived a woman while doing nasty things in her house. His name was Samuel Hochstetler, right? He's over in Ohio. And I'm here on YouTube minding my own business, minding other people's business like I do. And I was like, wait. I have read all the Beverly Lewis novels, so obviously I know every single thing there is to know about the Amish. And then I started reading about this 18-year-old man who unfortunately unalived a 28-year-old woman. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then somebody called 911. I don't know how that happened. Somebody collected DNA. I don't even know if the Amish knew about DNA. And then there was a goat in her house. This case has everything. Now, Samuel was just arrested the other day. And instead of being like, I didn't do it, get me a lawyer right now, call Jacoby and Myers, he just confessed. Sir, clearly he's not a true crime fan. He needs better Wi-Fi. I have frequently said that I would join the Amish if they had better Wi-Fi, and probably mosquito repellent and soul food. Maybe I'm not cut out to be Amish. Anyway, so while I was talking about this case on my channel, I was like, you know how when we were doing a case about our LDS friends, I was like, what I need to do is ask an LDS person all of my like ridiculous questions, all the things that just percolate in my head. And some crafty little Amish gentleman popped into my messages and was like, hey girl, hey, I'm Amish. And so I would like to come and talk. Now listen, everybody calm down. The bishop does not know he's here, but he's not going to get in trouble. He's not contacting us from like a can and a string or a sneaky little squirrel phone. He's actually, well, look, I'm going to let Josh tell his own story. I have got Josh from Shed, Shed, Shed Happens here on the channel. Can you believe it? Oh my God. Josh, in your
Hi.
fancy straw hat, welcome to Gossip Rumor and Innuendo.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you know I'm Amish? I mean, what are the evidence, right? I'm
Oh
confused.
my, and I'm living for the hay behind you. It feels so. Wait, is that actual hay or is that a picture of hay? I
Uh,
question.
that's the secret. I can't tell. So you'll never know.
Okay, okay. Josh is keeping all kinds of secrets up in his hat. Josh, I
Mhm.
just first of all, welcome me and the true crime friends. Welcome you to the madness that I call a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
I'm okay. I have to calm myself down so I can ask you all the questions that are on my mind. I try to be nonchalant. Today I'm wearing my appropriately chalant shirt today. I'm not nonchalant at all. I'm very excited. I'm very chalant. Okay. So, first of all, do the Amish have Wi-Fi? Because that's the one thing that's keeping me from joining. Do the Amish have Wi-Fi?
Well, most definitely not. No internet,
Okay.
nothing like that. I gotta take this hat off. It's too heavy for me.
Okay.
But
Okay, you
it's
can
way
lose
too
the
big.
hat. You could
Yeah.
lose the hat. So wait, how did you become Amish? Did they recruit you? Did you grow up Amish? Tell me every single thing.
Yeah, I was born that way. So
Oh, your parents are still Amish?
yes, yes,
So wait, I assume they know you're no longer Amish, right?
yeah, yeah. They know, and my dad's actually a bishop. So, but yeah, I ran away, or what they call jump the fence. I left the note and ran off. So
So
there it is.
wait. You ran, did you have money? Did you have friends? Like, how did this happen?
I had friends that had left that ran away too, that I was able to
Yeah.
contact through a neighbor's phone in the garage, and I had
Okay.
$140 if I remember correct when I left.
What year was this?
2005. Or it was September 11, 2005.
That's not that long ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So
20
how
years.
long were you Amish and how long are you ex-Amish?
Well, I was 19, and then
Okay.
it's pretty well September. It would be 19 or 20 years. So we're probably right about in that middle right now. I didn't even think
Oh
about that, but
my
right
gosh.
there at the 19 and a half years. Yeah.
So had you, Had you like already joined the church and so they had to excommunicate you, or like how did that part of it all work?
I had not joined. I was right at the age to get baptized, but I had not yet joined. I was scheduled 1 week away from my baptism. And so since I was not a member, now they don't shun me.
So wait, was it a big scandal that you left? Were all the ladies just like clutching their pearls? I guess they don't wear pearls. Was everybody shocked?
Oh yeah, it's always. And you'd be surprised. You just mentioned there's no Amish Wi-Fi, or some of the newer Amish have phones, but we didn't. News travels really fast. It's amazing how quick somebody can know everything. So yeah, the whole community knew probably within a week or so.
Oh my gosh. And did like if your dad as bishop has a son that jumps the fence and runs away, do they let him stay bishop? Because in the church I grew up in, they would be like, if your house is not in order, then you can't stay the guy in charge.
Oh no, they won't. They won't do that. I've heard of one that put himself in. I almost said a Dutch word there. I forget sometimes, but he basically shunned himself as a way of punishment because he wanted to hold himself accountable. But I've never heard of them actually getting in trouble.
That's what. So how does the faith work, right? Like, I mean, I grew up in like a very evangelical Christian household. So like, we got you get up, and we didn't do like special prayers in the morning. We just, you got up, you take a shower, you go to school, you come home, you do
Hmm.
chores, rinse and repeat, same thing. And then like Sunday morning there's church, Sunday night there's church, Wednesday night there's church, and then there might be youth group or something in between. But that was as much as like our religious expression. It looks like that. What did it look like for you on like a day-to-day basis?
As far as the religious part, it's every 2 weeks on a Sunday you go to church in the morning, and then in the evening they have a youth kind of like a youth gathering where anybody who's over the age of 17 and not married would come together and sing, and that was kind of their way of connecting.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much it. Maybe the Sunday, what we call in between Sunday, because you don't go to church. My dad would read the Bible, and they do a little bit of that. But that's about it as far as the religious part. There was no like Bible studies, or some places they're not even allowed because what happens is, now this is my opinion, I believe it's true, is that people start studying the Bible and they start seeing that, oh, it's not wrong to drive a car, and then they end up leaving the Amish because they get in all this
Oh,
trouble and stuff. And so now, well, we must keep people from studying it so they don't jump the fence. So it's
that's
religion.
wild. That's wild. So I guess, I mean, so what level did you complete in school? Because my understanding is that you only go to, typically Amish only go to about the eighth grade.
Yeah, yeah, eighth grade. That's what I did.
So what happens after eighth grade?
Go to work. Go to work. I even did at, I think, seventh grade. I was probably 13 years old. I started working at, there's a neighbor right next to the school had a buggy shop where he builds buggies. And so I
Yeah.
would work for him in the morning and the evening. And then during the summer, I did full time. But I think it was 2 winters before I graduated, I guess, what you call it. We just, it was over. We didn't graduate. We just had, years done, and that was it. So you go to work.
Wild. So I guess you get
Yeah.
an apprenticeship kind of thing.
Um, Explain that to me. I got eighth grade school.
Forgive me.
Explain
An
that.
apprenticeship is when, like, I guess if you were going to be the apprentice for the buggy guy, you go and you work with him, and he teaches you how to make buggies, and then you become like the next big thing. And then ultimately you open your own buggy shop, or you go to somebody who like is a builder, and you're their apprentice, and they teach you how to do that
Yeah.
trade or that craft, whatever it is. Is it more based like that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely like that.
So what kind of work did you do when you first left?
When I first left, I did construction for a couple of years, and now it's what it was: building pole barns, roofing. It's what most people do when they leave. Most guys.
So why did you leave? Why didn't you just stay?
I wanted freedom. I knew that there's more out there. I knew that there's a lot more to life. And then my biggest dream was to drive truck and trailer. I really want to. drive a pickup and trailer. And I even at 14 years old, we had a little wagon on the farm, like a garden
Yeah.
wagon, and I built a little trailer, gooseneck trailer with wheels on it to play with it. And so that was my dream. So being able to follow my dream and go experience life, there's
That's so
more.
wild. You know what's funny? Our stories are very similar. I grew up in Indiana and I
Okay.
went off to college when I was 18. And then after college, the expectation was that I would come home and I would marry an appropriate partner, some nice boy from down at the church, and then I would go live happily ever after. And my family was like, we want to choose your partner and you're never going to be allowed to get divorced. And I was like, oh,
Ooh,
no, thank you. I
yeah.
wanted to drink beer and kiss boys. And so I was like, I'm going to go over here to college and I'm going to drink some beer and kiss some boys. And then when it was time for me to move back home after college, I was like, no. And I had $114 and I moved to New
Oh,
York City, which is crazy. But that was
yeah.
1992, which what I did seems perfectly reasonable to me, but what you did sounds crazy to me.
But it's similar to like you threw yourself in an environment that you did not understand. This
Yeah.
is something completely new, and then hopefully you're not as stubborn as I was to think you know all this stuff, but yet you don't. And so it took me a little bit to adapt because I was stubborn.
Yeah, no, same. Same. I was just like, I know everything. I've got this all figured out. And I lived in terrible apartments with ridiculous landlords and all. I bumped my head a
Mm,
lot, as they say. But then I figured it out. That's
the
so
school of hard
wild.
knocks.
So do you still have contact with your family now?
I do. I see my parents about once or twice a year, and I
Same.
should do a little better. I could, but it's
Same.
we kind of have the agreement that because if I come home too much, they get looked down on. It'll look bad for them because they're expected, especially dad as a bishop, they're expected to sort of push me away. And then I have
Ooh,
brothers. My one brother I did not see for I believe over 10 years, and then I ran into him at an auction, and he didn't recognize me. So,
that's
it,
wild. Are your siblings
yeah,
still Amish?
most of them are. I have my oldest sister left. There are five sisters, and there were eight boys. There was one stillborn. So I think there was
That's a lot.
11
One
kids.
lady? One woman had all those kids?
As far as I know, yeah, yeah,
I was like,
that's
maybe there's some
about
sister
normal.
wives in there. I don't know. That's a lot. Eight boys and
Yeah,
five. That's a lot of kids.
it's it's a lot. Yeah,
Oh my, she
yeah.
probably started pretty young too. How old was your mom when she got married, if you know?
I don't know, but most of like the common is 21. 21 is their 18. It's when they're on their own, and
Okay.
so 20 to 21 is where most of them get married, and then there's no protection, and so they just get pregnant left and right.
So wait, I mean, maybe there's no like official whatever, but the ladies are not over there planning and scheming ways to like, I don't know.
They might be, but they're not. Their law is they're not allowed to use protection,
Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
and they have
So in
kids.
so you have, I guess the kids help out on like the farm or whatever business you have, the bakery, the
Oh yeah,
buggy shop,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just seeing
Wow.
now. You have the lines here. I mean, that looks like bonnet lines. So are you trying to look Amish or what's the deal here? I just saw that you got these
Yes,
white bonnet lines there.
yes, yes. This is my bonnet. I'm
Oh,
gonna
there
tie
you
it
go.
really nice.
Oh, that's funny. There you go.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. Wait, so did you have the bowl haircut like the guys you see in the movie? Why is that? Why do they have that funky bowl haircut?
I mean, it's a lot of their stuff is just to they pick something and they say that's what we're gonna look like, and so that's kind of their identity. For mine, it was here and then down. Our ears had to be covered, and so we had to have longer hair.
Is that like a modesty thing, or is it just tradition or to protect you from the sun? Why do the ears have to be covered?
It would be tradition, But if you look at, so you mentioned someone that have that bowl cut. There's so many different Amish. This is something people don't understand. There's,
Right.
the Swartz and True, or the old order, new order. And so if the new order that are more liberal in their ways, then they might have that short haircut. And so the strict ones, they want to be different from them. So they got to do something that makes them different. It's kind of like you're
Oh,
all looking to get God's attention, like, hey, look at me, my hair is different. And so they want something that marks them as we're different. So that's where some of it comes from.
wow.
But if
So
you
is there
think,
like competition? Is there like we're more religious than you or something like that?
that's my personal opinion, absolutely, yes. That's my opinion.
Wow. So have you
Yeah.
seen you've been out for 20 years or so. So have you seen all these TV shows that are about the Amish, like Breaking Amish and Return to
hmm
Amish and all those kind of things?
Yeah, I've seen some of them. I'm not really interested in it because, well, that's just my life. So I don't find them
Yeah.
interesting. But I'm aware of them. I've watched a little bit of them. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So in terms of you didn't I assume your wife is not Amish. You're married now. I saw a wedding ring.
Yeah. Yeah. She grew up in a different Amish community, and then
Okay.
she left, I think, 6 years after I left. And then we met at a Mexican restaurant. She came in the door, and I said, "Dang, she's hot for an Amish lady." And then I married her. So
That's
that's the short
crazy.
version. Yeah.
That's wild. How long have you been married?
10 years. This year was 10 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Do you guys have kids and stuff?
We have two boys, 8 and 6 years old, and then we're
That's
done.
amazing. Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
No 25 kids
That's
for
it.
your wife.
Nope. We're good. We're good.
To what degree does your Amish upbringing inform your life now? Like, do you, because there's some ways in which I'm still, like, I live in North Jersey, right? But there's some ways
Mhm.
that I'm still very much an Indiana girl. But there's lots, if you ask my family, they're like, she's totally East Coast. But if you ask my
Yeah.
husband, who's from the Bronx, he's like, you're so Indiana. So do you feel like you're
Mhm.
more Amish or more English now?
Ooh, tough one. I would say more English, and in my mindset, the way I think and stuff, way more
Yeah,
English. But I mean, for us, we're country people. We grew up in the country, so we have a couple acres, a garden, and so we live off the land a lot. My wife cooks a lot, and so we have a little bit of more of that. Like she doesn't have a job. She
right.
years ago she did some, but she's been a stay at home mom, and I mentioned before we do some house flipping, so we work together. But there's definitely some of that, I would say, just trying to live off the land, make your own food, some of that stuff. But a lot of the non-Amish people are really getting into that stuff these days too. It's a very popular thing.
Super trendy. It's super
Yeah.
trendy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny though, because where I live, most of the women that I know don't know how to cook, like can't boil water,
hmm
can't scramble an egg, nothing. Meanwhile, I have a garden out back, which I guess is a callback to my Indiana roots. And I sew a lot of
Yeah.
my own clothes. I know how to make things. I build things. I built a rainwater system to capture the rain that comes off my roof to
hmm
water one of the gardens that I have. And my neighbors thought I was crazy. They were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm building a self-watering garden." And they were like, "What?" It didn't even make sense to them. But I was like, "Yeah, of course. If you need something, you
Yeah.
build it. That's how it goes."
hmm Yeah, and then if something like a COVID comes along and all of a sudden the store shelves are empty, you'll be
No
fine.
problem.
I
No
think it's a
problem.
really good thing that people are trying to do that more because that's the good part of COVID. I think is it woke people up to you gotta look
Yeah.
out for yourself a little bit more, and I think that's a good thing.
And being more self-sufficient for sure. So how much have you
Yeah.
embraced technology since you left?
Well, I love technology. A lot of my friends that are from Amish are I don't want to get into that, but so that is I guess it's a personality or just who I am. My wife is the same way. She don't get much into stuff, but I loved it. As soon as I was able to, I bought a computer and then I bought video games and I still enjoy playing video games and I love technology. Sorry, my throat gave out.
The hay's making you sneeze, I understand. It's fine.
Yeah,
That's kind of cool though that you love technology. Your
yeah.
family must be like, who is this crazy guy? That's so wild.
Well, yeah, you'd think so, but they don't. As far as my Amish family, they don't. When I do see them, they don't talk about that. They don't want to know what I'm up to or anything like that.
Oh, right, right, right. I'm sure it's like a big deal to them. And your wife's
Yeah.
family, does she have a good relationship with them too now? As she is ex-Amish as well, is she still deeply connected with her family?
Not with her parents, especially with her mom. She is things I shouldn't say words about that, but her mom is very religious, strict, and just kind of rude, I guess. Um, but then she has two brothers that left too, and then her sister and one brother that are still Amish, a lot smaller family. And me and him are good friends. He's a Amish preacher, and we'll go to their house and hang out, play games, talk. They're great people, and same as her sister. But her sister lives at home on the farm, so their house is right next to her parents' house. And her
Oh.
sister will call her and be like, "Hey, my parents are going out of town next week or something. Come over to visit." And so,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's wild. Wait, one of the other things I know from TV and from books and stuff like that is that the Amish tend to like not go to the dentist and things like that. But I noticed you have gorgeous teeth. Is that like
Mhm.
were you born with such beautiful teeth?
Nope, I'll tell you the truth. They're fake. They're dentures.
Really?
Yeah.
They're good. They're
So,
really,
but
really
yeah, you're
good.
right. That is something that we would, on average, every 2 weeks before church, we would brush our teeth, and that was it.
Wait,
Yeah.
what are you doing just like nothing. You're
Mhm. Yeah. And so there was one of my I think aunts or somebody that still had her original teeth when she was an older lady, and I remember how weird that was. Like, what? Because no, that's how it was in our community at least. That there was no, you didn't expect to keep your original teeth. Like there was a girl that I remember this because I liked her, and at 17, I think she went and pulled all her teeth, everything, and then you got to go most of the time. Like when I did this only about 5 years ago. I did so much work. I kept going over and over root canals and stuff, and it just kept problems. So I finally pull them out. But no, that's absolutely true. They don't take care of them, and then they just expect to pull them and get dentures.
Aren't dentures more expensive than toothpaste? It seems like it would be the other way around. Because toothpaste is
Yeah,
easy. I mean, you can make toothpaste with baking soda and salt. Stop barking, dog.
true. Yeah. hmm
That's wild.
I think
But well,
I think it's just
go
the
ahead, go ahead.
education thing. They just
Yeah.
somehow they've never really understood that you can keep them, and it's just never. It's weird, but it just seems they haven't really caught on to it.
What about things like glasses or hearing aids or things like that? How does that all work?
Glasses they can wear. I don't think they couldn't do hearing aids because they're battery and they frown on battery operated stuff. Um, Glasses they have to be a certain shape, so you couldn't have like a big oval shape. The most like the very strict ones. I'm talking the community I come from. They have to be completely round. They couldn't be. Well, that's not no, not completely round. They have a little bit of shape, but there's specifics to it. And then like sunglasses, they couldn't have what they call the nose pads, the little pads that sit on your nose there. So
Yeah.
they would have to take those off, and somebody would solder a piece of copper between them that would sit on your nose right here, and that was the rules.
Wait, now that I've never seen any Amish in sunglasses. Like I would think for eye protection, but they're probably not protecting their eyes.
They wear them, but again, they have to be certain shape. And but then there was my uncle. He was almost blind, and because of that, he was required these very dark, big glasses that nobody would be allowed to wear, but they allowed it because of medical. So there is some of that, but not a whole lot. It has to be that it was specifically for doctor prescribed.
So if somebody has something like, say, diabetes, right, where you have to, test your blood sugar and stuff like that, um, would something like that? I mean, I guess because now they have like insulin pumps. I would imagine that
Mhm.
that's not allowed either. You just sort of prick your finger or whatever.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be allowed um, to do insulin. And again, just want to put it out. I know the comments are like, "Oh, I whole Amish they have that stuff." They're different Amish, so I'm speaking
Right.
on the certain community, not everybody. 'Cause I
So
know
the
what the
one
comments
question,
look like.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. People are going to be like, I know an Amish guy and he blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah. The one question that I have been dying to ask, and you are the person that I can ask, do Amish, in your experience, wear deodorant?
no, no, and
Okay, wait, wait,
trust me,
wait,
it's
wait,
no.
wait. So you're brushing your teeth every 2 weeks, whether you need it or not. How often are we
Mhm.
taking baths?
Every Saturday night.
Once a week with the bath. So no
Yep.
brushed teeth, no deodorant,
And 12
shaving.
babies. And 12 babies. So figure that out.
Oh my God. It's an
Yeah.
assault on the senses. So I mean, the Amish people that I've run into honestly have been at the farmers market in my town, and they're selling like
Hmm.
fruits and vegetables and stuff. Um, and I never noticed a smell or anything like that. So do they bathe in anticipation of like going to sort of be out with other people?
Most likely those are what we call new order Amish. Are not as strict, and so there's a good chance they have probably gas in their house instead of electric. They can have gas, or they have some way to, because we have to use a kettle or a stove, to heat water, and so it's a lot
Yeah.
harder to do that to try to take a bath with 12 kids every night.
Oh my
And
God.
so yeah, like the new order, they're gonna bath more. A lot of them probably take care of their teeth a lot better, and they're gonna use deodorant. Some of them, and there's gonna be some of the younger rebels in weird you call them rebels, but in the very strict that they'll use deodorant. But yeah, if I go and I haul a couple. I have one Amish brother that went to the New Order Church, and so I picked him up with my pickup and stuff. But if there's a few of them around, you'll smell them. It's the clothes, and because they're wearing the same clothes for a week. I wear the same socks for a week, so yeah, it gets a little sticky.
How do like I'm trying to figure out if it's a little stinky, and maybe if you grow up with it, you don't notice it as much. Did you notice
Yeah,
it growing up?
nope. I would have never thought about it until after I left. I'm like, whoa, what is that? No, I never thought about it. I mean, the
Wow.
skunk don't know they stink, do they?
My mind is blown. My mind is blown. That's crazy. So wait, in this crime with this dude, Samuel Hochstetler, right? He was
Ah,
18 years old. He's accused of killing a woman who's 28. It seems odd to me. I mean, maybe they might know each other, whatever, from the community, but it seems odd
yeah.
to me that an 18-year-old would be hanging out at the house of a 28-year-old woman. If women typically get married when they're like 20, 21, something like that, don't you think it's odd that they would be together?
Yeah, it was definitely out, but she was not Amish, right?
She was Amish.
What? What? I,
Yeah, she's an Amish lady.
I was not. I thought. Are you
My
sure? I'm sorry. I
understanding,
don't need
I
to.
don't know. Wait, let me Google. Let me let my Google fingers
Yeah.
do the walking.
Just her last
What
name doesn't
name?
look Amish.
Well, you know what? I thought that too, but I was like, okay, maybe it's a different hang on. What happened with Samuel? Yeah. She was known to the Amish community because it was like the friends and neighbors who were saying, "Hey, where is she?"
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that. It seemed like her father knew, the
Right.
Amish and stuff like that.
I assumed that they were both Amish. Okay. Samuel Hochstetler, an 18-year-old Amish man from Meigs County, Ohio, was charged with the murder of 28-year-old Rosanna Kinzinger. Kinzinger was found deceased in her home on Dye Road in Rutland on March 13th, 2025. The circumstances surrounding her death were deemed suspicious, prompting an investigation by the Meigs County Sheriff. They don't say one way or the other. He just talks about how he was engaged in an intimate relationship with her, and he put a blanket over her head during the act, and upon
Yeah,
completion he discovered she was unresponsive. I thought it was weird that they would even be, it never occurred to me that she wasn't Amish.
yeah. I never occurred to me that she was, and then, but I guess the name
Oh.
Rosanna Kinzinger, it sounds like a Mennonite name. That's what it sounds like. But
Oh.
I don't know. It's a weird case. I tell you what, my first thought when I heard that he was arrested, and I
Yeah.
did not hear anything about having sex with her or anything. I just assumed he just went and, can I use the R word, or are we not using the R word?
No, you can't use the
We
R
just call it
word.
the R word. I just assumed that's what it was. I mean, I figured for
It doesn't
sure,
say.
and
I mean,
I
when I first
still
heard it, I
suspect
thought
it.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't say. He says that he put a blanket over her head, which I was
yeah,
like, I mean,
very weird.
maybe that's how maybe that was consensual, but maybe he sort of broke into her house or something like that, or he knew her from, business town, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and he said he put the blanket over her head, and then when he was done, he turned her over. Are there rules about how you can engage intimately? I thought it had to be like missionary standard.
I don't know that there's any rules, but if we get into that stuff, we were not taught anything about sex. I wasn't taught any of that stuff, so that's part of what I see with this case is, you know, to our work there. Chances are he didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. I didn't know anything like that. We weren't taught anything, and so that's what makes me wonder. Even if the police are, investigating it and questioning him, like, does he know the questions he's being asked? It is so weird. But the blanket over her
Oh,
head is that is not normal. The only reason I don't see why that would be why she would consent to that. And so it
right.
makes me think that he did that out of sort of shame, or did he try to make it that did he sneak up on her and grab her where she didn't know who it was and then put a blanket on her? I mean,
That makes more sense. So he might have accidentally killed her and not real, because if he's only 18, right? He might
mhm.
maybe he doesn't have a lot of education about sort of, I mean, clearly he knows the mechanics of how these
Oh,
things
you
work.
figured it out.
But
Yeah.
maybe he didn't even realize a blanket over somebody's head, if you hold it in the wrong way, could strangle that person. He might not have even known.
Yeah, but I mean,
Wow.
if obviously it's still open case, I don't know what all we can say. I mean, we're not want to get into legal stuff, but um, if if he didn't know that that he actually unalived her, then that means that nothing changed when she went from alive to not alive. So if you think about that, that tells
Oh,
you just you don't just lay there hold completely still and all of a sudden
right,
you're no longer alive. It's like,
right, right. When she
so
would have might been the throes of death for her, he was like, "Oh, she's really enjoying it." If it's an assault,
yeah,
that actually makes a lot more sense than they were having some sort of consensual relationship or a kinky whatever was happening.
I don't
That
buy that.
so
I don't buy that at all.
that's what, and when the police asked him, he apparently was like, "Oh yeah, this is what," like he sort of confessed. He might not have even known that what he was doing was confessing. He was just explaining what happened when they finally caught up
Yeah,
with this guy.
yeah, that's possible. One thing that, and we can get into that more if we want to, but there is a lot of sexual abuse in the Amish that people are not aware of.
Somebody
And
else said that. In my comments, they were
yeah,
saying that.
yeah. And what's interesting is that I think of is I feel like there's a thing where their priorities are so messed up that if they do that, then when they're confronted, they confess. and it's almost like they're taught so hard that if you lie, you go to hell for lying. You know, it's a very evil thing to say a lie, and so they now say, "Well, I'm a good person. I have to confess." But yet that other part you just didn't. Like, it's
Oh,
like you see what I'm saying? That's their priority. It's like
yeah.
lying is more evil than the act they do.
So in a way, that makes it make sense, right? The police finally catch up with him. They say, "Did you do this thing?" And his thinking was, "Oh, well, I'll just tell the truth," because
Mhm.
anybody who was more sophisticated would have been like, "I want to talk to a lawyer," or "I have
Yeah,
a right to remain silent. I'm going to remain silent." He just gave up the whole game. He was like, "I was there. This is what
yeah,
I did. This is how it happened."
yeah,
That's crazy. And that makes the story make a lot more sense to me. Why an 18-year-old would be with a 28-year-old. Why this he looks like the scare. Have you seen pictures of this guy? Hang on, let me see if I
yeah,
can. He's a weird looking dude. Let's see.
yeah.
Share screen. Um, nope, that's not the one I want. There's the one I want. He's a
Mhm.
weird looking dude. That hat. It's like that
Yeah,
hat sort of looks like the hat that you had on, but it's
yeah,
so beat up, it looks
okay.
like a Halloween costume or something.
Yeah. I'd say it's just old. You know, that tells me either they can't afford to buy a new hat or they just choose to wear old hats because that seems completely worn out.
It's so strange. Everything about the case is so strange. And then one of the
Yeah.
other pictures they had of him, he looks totally like some kind of weirdo criminal. Hang on, let's see, share. Here's the other picture that
Mm.
they're showing of him. He right there, he looks like a criminal. Oh, with this, can you explain that beard to me? It's not, there's no hair on the front of the face. It's just down under the chin. Is that tradition? Or is that just maybe
Mm.
that's how his hair grows?
It might be just his hair. I don't even see. I can't see him in the picture. But if he's under 18, he's not required to grow a beard anyway. So it'd be normal to be shaved.
Oh, he had just like a little bit of scruff, like down under here, but no
Mm.
mustache, nothing on the front of his face. It was all sort of on
Mhm.
his neck, like a kid who hasn't started shaving yet, honestly. But the front of it was so clean
Mm.
shaven.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I've seen a little bit of the video of him and picture like coming into court, and he doesn't look like he has any resentment. He just looks calm. And
It's
the other thing
wild.
that interesting about this is like this is not to justify what he did, but I've just seen this in a Facebook post, and I remember a story of around 3 or 4 years ago. That is when they lived in Kentucky. Five of his siblings were killed in a buggy flooding accident, where the buggy got there was a flood, and they tried to go through the creek, and it got washed away. And you can we can fact check it maybe or something, but I do if I remember correct, it was five. And then somebody said that
Wow.
that was his siblings. And so I'm just saying that things like that can cause people to do crazy stuff, but it does not justify doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like trauma is still trauma. That makes sense to
Yeah,
me. But I'm
yeah,
just like, yikes. Hang on. I'm going to check. I think I heard something about that too.
yeah.
In
If you
and
just Google search, you know, Amish kids drowning, something like that in Kentucky.
let's see. Um, as of now, publicly available. It's saying that there's not a lot of information about that story.
Hmm.
Um, but that
Yeah,
was
it was
just a
a few
quick
years old.
search. Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting though. This is telling wait, the case were killed. There's a current news coverage. Yeah, they're saying the current news coverage about him and his family focuses on the arrest of him and this lady, Rosanna Kinsinger.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be inappropriate for him to be alone with a woman anyway who he's not married to?
yeah. If she was Amish, like in the same Amish church or whatever, um, in the house together like that, yeah, yeah, that would be inappropriate. And then let's throw the goat in there yet. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah, somebody is saying that it was a pet goat, but I was like, maybe the goat was investigating the crime. I don't, who keeps a goat in the
Yeah,
house? Maybe when
I know.
he left the door open and the goat came in. I'm fascinated by the goat. So if
Hmm.
you're living home, right? Had you stayed Amish, if there's a crime in the local community, how is something like, whether it's a robbery, whatever it is, somebody beats up somebody
Hmm.
else, somebody steals from somebody else. Do the Amish have their own police or do you call like the local sheriff or something like that?
No, you would call the local sheriff. They don't have their own police. Anything that they can handle, even well, like a real crime, yeah, they'll report it. But a lot of stuff, if it's not too bad, they won't even report it. They'll just, if it's like one Amish person does something to not another Amish person, they don't want the law involved. They try to
Why not?
take care of it. Um, hmm. I think part of it maybe it makes them look bad. So when stuff like this pops up, oh, this kind of puts a black mark on all Amish. And of course, if anybody with a decent brain knows that that doesn't mean all Amish are that bad, but
Right.
part of part of their image that they're such good people is that they're really good at putting stuff under the rug, and a lot of
Oh.
that stuff that happens, they just put it on the rug, and so people outside don't find out about it and say, oh, they're all great people. Yeah, it's not really the case.
So are there any black Amish or Hispanic Amish or Asian Amish, anything like that?
Not that we're born that way. Never heard of. There are. I think I've heard of a black that was adopted, and then there's a lot of the
Right.
Mennonites. They adopt a lot of different, Asians or Mexicans or whatever. But no, I've never heard of Black Amish. I found
Oh,
that also interesting, but I guess it's somewhere back in the day. My understanding is they kind of split off of the rest of the world, and obviously there was no black people in that first group, and since they only marry kind of in their own group, then
right.
it's just never gonna happen.
So what about gay Amish?
I've heard of one, some old man that was single
Only one?
and crazy. Yep, only one.
So
All I've heard of.
if a person is just like, you know what, I'm Amish, I'm a farmer, I love being Amish. Who needs brushing your teeth? I just want to live a happy life with could they have like a partner, a boyfriend, a husband, or if it's a woman, could she partner with another lady? Like, is that allowed?
Uh, no, 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 no. That would never be allowed. They would have to leave. That wouldn't be allowed.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
huh? So either you say like, okay, I'm just going to ignore this whole part of my life and I'm going to marry this opposite sex partner and then you go on. I would imagine
Mhm.
then based on that there's probably no like transgender Amish.
No, nope. not
There's
not that I'm
probably
aware of.
some dude like, sneaking and dressing up in his wife's, bloomers or whatever when she's not around.
Hey,
That's
I don't
wild.
know. That might happen, but no, they're like that stuff is that would be very frowned upon, or it's just no, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. And so that usually what would happen in a case like that is they would end up leaving because they realize it ain't gonna work. I can't stay here, and
Yeah.
so they just kind of push them out because well they're not gonna accept them, so they just kind of force them
Oh, they're
out.
like, go do your thing someplace else we don't want to know about it.
Yeah, I mean they don't want you. They don't want to push them out, but they're not going to accept them, and so that pushes them out. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Right. So what about underwear? Do Amish people wear underwear? I told you I had some random crazy questions.
So most of the New Order, those will wear underwear, both men and women. In the Swartz and Trooper, where I'm from, the women would wear, we call them shorts because they're a lot bigger, but the men would go commando. So no,
Wait.
not for me.
Wait. So you're on a roof, you're in a barn, you have a soldering iron, whatever, you're a blacksmith.
I
Like
never
what
thought
if
of
a piece
that.
of hot these are the things that I wonder about.
Well, what's one little thin piece of underwear going to do between a hot iron? Come on. I never thought of that. Wow.
So so you leave the Amish, the first thing you do is go to Target and get yourself some underwear or whatever.
No, the first thing I bought was a cowboy hat because that was cool.
That's awesome. And then you got yourself a truck as fast as humanly possible, I'd
Yeah,
imagine.
and a phone.
Wow. Wow. So the ladies, they wear shorts. So that's like a bloomers type situation?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they wear dresses, so obviously
Right.
they have to wear something. But yeah,
Are women ever allowed to wear pants? Like if they're riding a horse or I don't know, doing some sort of outdoor activity. It's all dresses all the time.
mm-hmm. Sorry, it's inconvenience. You don't get to ride a horse. Go in and make a pie or something. Come on, you know.
Oh my God.
You don't have the luxury of riding a horse. You're a woman. Sorry.
Wow.
I
So
mean, they
since you
don't say that, but that's what it comes down
right,
to.
right. But if you're raised with that idea that women only do these certain things, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing if a woman has trouble like conceiving, having a baby or whatever, does she go see a doctor about that? Or like how is because I know there's sort of like midwives and things like that for women. But if you have
Yeah.
some sort of other difficulty, like now these days everyone's like the fertility treatments and this and that. I would imagine that I mean, do the Amish even know about such things?
Yeah, they would see a doctor for that.
Like a regular,
So yeah,
like they'd go to a regular hospital, regular doctor type thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, they do that stuff. Yep.
Wow. And wait, so health insurance, how does that work?
Nothing. It's basically you pay your own. If you can't, the community will come together and help. Um, they kind of help
Wow.
each other. It's just like their barn raising and stuff. It's all kind of the community helping each other. So, but they're not gonna go to a doctor as quick as we would. There are some Amish that they're not legally doctors, but they study it and they understand, and so they kind of you're able to help each other with some of that stuff. But a lot of it, if it's possible, they'll just take care of it themselves or suffer through it.
Wow. Okay. So wait, those ladies are having babies at home with no epidural. This is what you're telling me.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of them. I think usually like the first one or two, they'll go in the hospital. I don't know if they have an epidural or not, but usually the first couple they'll do that, and then from there on out, it's a midwife and boom.
You're like, I'm gonna squat over here in this field and I'm just gonna have this baby and keep it moving, keep going.
Yeah, I got to keep hustling that corn. So yep.
So I would imagine that the
Yeah,
community is pretty tight knit. So people kind of take care of one another if somebody gets sick or somebody has a baby or breaks a leg or whatever.
yeah, that's true, and that's where there's good and bad in that, where they can help each other and stuff, but then they know everything about everybody, and everybody's,
Oh,
oh yeah,
they
there's
know
everybody knows.
all your personal business.
Oh yeah, yep. And then if
Oh,
once you're a member of the church and you do something that you get caught doing something you're not supposed to do, you can confess. A lot of them do that, or somebody else will confess and or tattle on them, and then they will announce in front of all of the members. The younger ones will go out, so they're no longer in the house, and then but everybody's a member of that church is going to know what they did.
so wait. So you go down to the corner store and you shoplift, I don't know, a whoopie pie, whatever. And so you could go and tell on yourself, or somebody who saw you do it can go tell the bishop. But it's
Mhm.
announced in church like this person stole the whoopie pie or whatever it is.
Yep, yeah, they'll announce what the crime was, and everybody knows about it. So if you want to have an Amish gossip channel, there's opportunity there because you'll know everything about everybody.
The way I want an Amish gossip channel. I'm gonna be like, girl, I'm gonna
I
go
thought
under
I'd go
here to the
undercover.
sewing bee.
Yeah, I'll go undercover and I'll get the footage. I'll go in
Look,
there and I'll do
look,
a camera on it.
I got my bonnet. I'm good to go. Me and you, we can go down there
uh,
and pretend to be a nice Amish couple.
you need a lot of makeup, lady. You're gonna need a lot of makeup.
So if I decided that I wanted to be Amish, because for years, like when life is crazy, I'm like, that's it. I'm just gonna go be Amish. I can't take it. I'm too busy. My phone keeps ringing. If you want to become Amish, how do you do it? Do you just go like knock on the bishop's door and say like, "Hey, I'd love to be Amish"? How does it work?
It wouldn't have to be just the bishop, but it would be a long process. But it basically comes down to is, are you willing to follow their rules? Is what it's going to come down to. And if you would start dressing that way and be submissive and show that you're going to follow their rules, then and again, like the new order, you could probably do that fairly easy. Some of it's happened some in the very strict where there's at least one. If you Google that name, I think it'll come up. But what is it? Something Edward something. Because I feel, if I remember correctly, I want to say he ended up killing his wife and and then leaving and after it joined. So it's happened, and then maybe didn't turn out very well. So
So I could convert. Wait, I'm searching how to convert to Amish in
yeah,
case I want to try. And so if I converted, they would allow me as a black lady to go and be Amish or no?
they wouldn't. You would probably get discriminated against in the community, but as far as their
Aw.
rules, they would they would allow it. They wouldn't say that you're not allowed just because of that. Because it all comes down to you submissive to their rules is what it comes down to.
So the wife has to be submissive to the husband, but the husband has to be submissive to the church, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So wait, it's saying on here that as far as language, most speak Pennsylvania Dutch at home and High German in church. Is English not your first language?
No, no. Pennsylvania Dutch was my first language.
So how did you learn English?
We learned English in school, and then I mean you are around people that don't speak Dutch, and so you kind of pick it up here and there. But when I left, my English was not all that good, so I had a lot of words to learn.
That's fascinating. I mean, you know what's funny though, because here in like the New York, New Jersey area, there are sort of pockets of people who are very, very like religious Jews, and they
Okay.
speak like Yiddish at home and other German dialects, and so English is their second language. And as a result, they're born and raised in the U.S. but speak deeply accented English, like they sound like they're from another country. It's
Yeah,
fascinating to me.
yeah, I have a little bit of that accent too. People
So when
notice
you
it.
go back home to talk to your family, I guess you could speak to your wife in Pennsylvania Dutch as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do
we
your
can do that.
kids know it?
No, they do not. That's something that we have a lot of friends that say you got to teach them that, and we kind of want to, but yet it just. But our problem is that when we try to speak Dutch, like if I go to visit my parents, I'll speak Dutch out of respect for them. But it's gotten to the point where it's kind of hard to do. Like there's some words that I just don't remember, and then I
Yeah,
get all tripped up. After that, I'm trying to go back to English, and it's like it's all tripped up, and so
yeah,
I'm like, for our kids, again, it would be great, but I'm like, if I can teach them Spanish, that's going to bring more value possibly in the
yeah.
future than Dutch. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't.
I was gonna say it makes more sense to me that you would learn a language that's more widely spoken. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to Holland, for example, and you spoke Pennsylvania Dutch, would the Dutch in Holland understand Pennsylvania Dutch?
Well, I don't know. That's something I have to look into because there is a country or somewhere something that features. Because one time me and my wife were somewhere we were in Colorado up on Pikes Peak actually, and
Oh,
all
I
of a
love
sudden we
Pikes
hear
Peak.
these ladies that like they're speaking our language, and you're be surprised. You don't. I don't care what language you speak. If you're not former Amish, I'll see it. I could see right away that no, they're not former Amish,
Yeah.
and so I should have gone and talked to him, but it was so weird. But I've listened to there's a lady and her mom that do these funny Instagram videos, and I can understand some of them. So some of the German I can understand some of the words, but I believe there's somewhere somebody that speaks it the same. I just haven't found them. I can't figure out who they are.
Wow.
So,
Wait.
but Holland is Netherlands, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Where in the world is Pennsylvania? Now I got to figure out how to spell Pennsylvania. Dutch
Yeah. Good luck.
spoken.
Because
Pen. I
there's
have
that,
a
and then
million
there's
questions
Deutsch.
in my head. Oh, right. Pennsylvania Dutch, also called Pinson something Dutch, is primarily spoken in the U.S., especially in regions of Amish and Old Order Amish populations. Despite the name, it's a dialect of German, not Dutch. Oh, so
Okay.
if
Hmm.
it's a German dialect, what you might have been hearing was Dutch, was German
It
when you
might
were in
be.
Pikes
I've
Peak.
heard that. Yeah, I've heard that there's places in Germany where just they don't they're off different dialects or something, and so
Yeah.
there's a chance that's what it was. So
I
yeah,
used to be really good friends with this woman whose parents were from Austria, and she was
okay.
born and raised in Virginia, but her first language was German, and her mother spoke one kind of German, and her father spoke a very, I guess it was like a rare dialect of German called Spitzevich, which the only way
Mm,
I know how to say it is because I remember hearing her say Spitzevich. Um, and she was an actor, and so she would do all these like foreign movies, and now she's a voiceover artist because she knows Spitzevich. So it might be just one
mm.
of these like oddball dialects that people don't really use anymore.
Yeah, it probably is. And even among the Amish, because I have a well side hustle business that I deal with some Amish, and I get guys calling me from PA, and they'll speak Dutch to me, and I'm like, I can almost not understand them. It is like it's way different. So some of the
Wow.
Mennonites do that too. It's just a different twang to it, or whatever it is.
Listen, there are parts of the South when I talk to people, I'm like, I was born,
Mm.
I only speak English and I speak gossip and
Yeah,
I speak bullshit. But yeah, there are some people who speak English that I'm like, I don't know. I
yeah,
had a guy on here who's from West Virginia, and some of like I have to slow his videos down sometimes because I'm just like, I don't. Let me run that back and see what he said.
yeah, yeah. That happens.
It's wild. Well, Josh, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so, so much. I'm so, so glad that you agreed to come and answer all of my ridiculous questions. And I know you said you have a very popular YouTube channel called Shed, SHED Happens.
Yep.
What happens over on Shed Happens? What's going on over there?
Well, what I was doing for years was I was repoing storage sheds. You've heard of car repo and all that stuff. And so people buying these sheds and they're being delivered in their backyard on payment, and they don't make their payments. So you take the equipment out and you load the shed up, and you take it out of there. So that's what I was doing.
That's I could watch that all day. Somebody's getting their
Hey,
shed.
you're
Do you like
welcome to.
go in the middle of the night and you have
No,
to
you don't.
repo a shed?
You don't want to do it in the
What is
dark when they're home.
this? This is true. And all their stuff is inside?
A lot of times, yeah. And then we have a choice of if it's not too much stuff, we could take it out and put it in their yard. But most of the time, the way I kind of looked at it is, it's kind of a dangerous situation to be in somebody's backyard. And
Yeah.
so for my health, I'm gonna load it up and get out of there. I'm not messing around much. And so we have the right to take it, and then they can come get their stuff if they want it.
So you have to have some sort of big I'm thinking about there's a shed in my backyard that is fully paid for. Um when the guys
What's the
delivered it, there
address?
was wait, can I get a discount shed from you? We need to replace our shed.
Uh,
If you know where I could get a discount shed,
I don't. there's a place in Maine called Shed Happens. You can go get one there.
that's wild. So when the guy delivered my shed, he came with a big truck and was like beep beep beep, coming backwards down my driveway, and then he had to like slide it off the thing. So in my mind, if you're repossessing a shed, you're backing a truck down into somebody's backyard and you're like hooking it up and dragging it. How do you get the shed out? I'm gonna have to watch your channel.
Yeah, you will. Well, we have a machine called a mule, and MULE, and so it's a little one I had with remote control, and that thing hooks onto the shed, and then you put some dollars under it. So if it's the backyard, we can go back with that thing, grab it, pull it out, either on the road or in the driveway, and then load it on a trailer.
Oh. Okay, that makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense. Oh, and the technology of that. Oh, you're an
uh,
Amish rebel. I love it
yeah,
so much. This
yeah,
has
it's
been
a lot of
amazing.
fun.
You have brought me a complete education. First, I had a Mormon lady on here answering a bunch of Mormon questions about crime. Now we've gotten
Hmm.
a complete education about our Amish friends. I'm so, and now I need to think about watching shed repossessions.
Yeah, there
That
you go.
that's so wild. Josh,
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough for entertaining me and my foolishness. I think our true crime friends are going to be fascinated by everything you had to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to put links to your YouTube channel in the description box of this video so me
Mhm.
and everybody else can go watch Shed Happens. Thanks so much for coming to Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
This is awesome. Hang on for 1 second. Let me end this recording.